Um, I think that fans are eager to see more of Natasha Romanoff. She is really the only one of the original Avengers who hasn't had her own standalone movie. I mean, we got Thor, we got Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, and so it's time for Natasha's story to be told. And I think that fans of these movies really want to hear more about her past, which has been shrouded in a lot of mystery, the Red Room and what she's been through as a human being. And I think fans are eager to see that. How do I feel about joining the MCU? I don't know how one could answer that question except awesome. It's really great. I mean, I love these movies, and I think that Marvel and the MCU do them better than anybody. The production of the movies themselves, the scripts, the characters are all so rich and at the highest level. And then on top of that, you have this world of brothers and sisters, who are making the rest of the mythology, and that mythology is crossing over in weird, wonderful ways. So I don't know how I could possibly answer that question without simply saying, well, I seem to have said a lot more, but simply saying I feel awesome about it. The Alexei Shostakov plays a very unique, particular role in Natasha's life. You'll see a lot about Natasha, and this guy he really holds a special place in her life, in her heart, in what she's been through. And the film gets to explore her as a younger woman, and then after the events of Civil War and when she's become an Avenger. And it explores, the choices that this guy's made in his life. And they have to come together in this movie, and they have to revisit a lot of this rich past that they've had. So when we find Alexei in this movie, well, after this little prelude, when we find him for the bulk of the movie, he is in prison. He's made a lot of mistakes in his life. He's really a failure, both physically, morally, and emotionally. He was a very capable dude who's let himself go in many different ways. And he's full of remorse and guilt, also desperation. But he still does have this fire of life in him that is reignited when, this opportunity begins for him when we meet him in the movie. And throughout the movie, he will go on this incredible journey, this incredible arc of really finding out what he's made of and who he's been all along. I really adore Kate Shortland, the director of this movie. She, is helming a huge blockbuster superhero movie, but she did it with such a delicate, sensitive, creative touch. She is primarily more of an independent director, and she tells very human stories. Some of her stories have been coming of age stories of young women. I think she was really the perfect director for this project because she really created a vibe on set that felt comfortable and collaborative and safe to take risks, and really put the women characters first, which I feel like this story needed. But also, was in love with a character like Alexei, and didn't shortchange him in any way for some sort of agenda. She's a very sensitive artist, and I think the Marvel universe does this very well, where they put really creative directors in these big budget movies, but it's not the norm. To have someone so wanting to take risks and willing to take risks And to put them in charge of a big blockbuster movie, I think is a rare thing for a studio to do, but I'm very grateful that they did. So the stunts and the action is huge in this movie, unlike anything I've ever done. And I think probably unlike anything I've ever seen. It's extremely difficult to do. I do not do most of my own action, thank God. I do a minority of that, but just a sliver of it. But even that sliver required tremendous training. When I got there, I was very out of shape, and the character was very out of shape, and that was a good thing for the character. Before the stunts, it was not a great thing. I started boxing and training with these stunt guys for hours and hours a day. I continued boxing, and working a little bit on this discipline, Russian Sambo, which is Red Guardian's discipline, and you just work really hard. I mean, the great thing about my particular training was that I don't have to get into superhero shape with this character. He is a big guy, and he's meant to be a big guy, so it wasn't really about eating a certain diet and having abs or whatever. It was more just about being able to do this very difficult physical stuff, and that takes a lot of training just for safety, just so you don't kill yourself, because you're doing hours and hours of this really complicated choreography, and you're doing it with guys that are a lot faster and stronger than you are. So you try to get sort of in the best strength, best flexibility and strength of your life, so you can keep up. In general, with a movie like this, I think the most important thing that you take away is that you have a great time for a couple hours. It's in its essence, these movies are about fantasy and about a mythology. And so what you're really meant to do is dissolve and let all the cares of your life and all the concerns sort of melt away, and just be taken on an emotional roller coaster that takes you through humor and pathos, and also like tense action, and ultimately good versus evil, which are these concepts that we, our narratives love to prop up against each other, and it makes us feel good when good defeats evil. It's just a really warm, nice feeling. So ultimately, the biggest thing I want you to take from this is a big smile off your face when you go home and have to deal with your life again, like we all do. But if you take something else, I also think that you could take from it perhaps more questioning of what family really is, what it means, what your particular role in family means, and what the consequences for good and poor choices with family can mean for your life. Because I think the film explores a lot of what it means to be a sister or a father or a mother or a daughter, and what the consequences are for good choices amidst that and bad choices.